Hong Kong Police Force. And I first of all introduce the four speakers to you. In the middle of the stage, a bit to the right, we have Mr. Kwok Kao-chin, Chief Superintendent of the Police Public Relations Branch. To his left, we have Mr. Kwok Wing-chun, Senior Superintendent. And then to the right of Mr. Kwok, we have Mr. Wong Wai-shun, Senior Superintendent Operations. Next to Mr. Wong, we have Mr. Lee Kwai-wah, Senior Superintendent of Organized Crime and Triad Bureau. Later on, the four speakers will speak, and then the floor will be open to questions. And if you wish to ask questions, please raise your hand and tell us which organization you represent. We may ask at most 3 questions each. Thank you. Now, first of all, I'm going to talk about the overall situation at Polytechnic University, and then I will ask Mr. Kwong to give you some figures and make some clarifications, and then I will do a quick summary. Now, the rioters have been occupying the Polytechnic University for almost 2 weeks today. Now, the Cross Harbour Tunnel was closed since last Wednesday, the 13th, and that's caused a serious paralysis to the traffic network across the territory. During this period, rioters turned the university into a factory for weapons, combat training ground, an armory, and a bridgehead of criminals. And on Sunday, some rioters attacked citizens who tried to clear the blockade, and so the police had to take decisive action. Since the morning on Sunday, the police have been making appeals through social media to those occupying the Polytechnic University to leave as soon as possible. Frontline officers have also been broadcasting the same appeal repeatedly. At night, the police barricaded the campus and started asking people inside the campus to leave through a designated exit and to follow the instructions of the police. Now, it's been 3 days since this incident started. The police have been emphasizing 2 broad principles. First of all, we would very much like a peaceful resolution to the case. Secondly, we would like to adopt a flexible and humanitarian approach in handling the incident. First, on peaceful resolution, for people occupying Polytechnic University, some of them were under 18, they were minors, so there was a special arrangement for the minors. If the minors leave PolyU, we would first take a photo of them and take down their information, and then we'll let them leave. We would not make immediate arrest, but we reserve the right to take action in future. As for adults, they would be arrested. During this period, the management of the police force has been in close liaison with the senior management of the university. We hope that they could help to urge students and teachers on campus to leave as soon as possible. In the process, the university managed to urge 47 teachers and staff members to leave the campus. The police also helped a group of people from the community, including teachers and school heads, to go into the campus and assist those inside to leave. But whether there could be a peaceful resolution is entirely up to the rioters. It depends on the violence and the weapons they use, how they attack us, and how they pose a threat to the public. The force used by the police is always determined by the threat we face. Under any circumstance, the police would not like to resort to force. We would like to see a peaceful resolution of incidents. On the other hand, we would like to adopt a humanitarian approach in dealing with the rioters on campus. Yesterday, we arranged for Red Cross staff to go into the campus to treat some 20-odd injured persons. Today, we make the same arrangement. Under the coordination of the police, 16 secondary school heads, 15 teachers and 10 staff members from the social welfare department went into the campus to urge students to leave. They also helped to look after the welfare of the minors. At the nearby Tsim Sha Tsui East Fire Station, the police set up a public inquiry desk to handle inquiries from parents and teachers about their children and students so they could learn more about their situation. On figures, as at 3 p.m. today, the police arrested and jotted down information of about 1,100 people on the campus of the PolyU and in the vicinity. Of them, 600 people left the campus voluntarily, and of the 600, 400 were adults and 200 were minors. Our initial analysis shows that for the majority of those who left voluntarily, they were not students of the PolyU. We note that there were rioters on the campus who tried to terrorize others who wanted to leave voluntarily. You can take a look at this footage. From the footage, you can see that there was a group of rioters who did not want to face the consequence, and they had no regard to justice, and that they wanted other people to stay with them and continue with their mistakes. The police also noticed that there were rioters still throwing petrol bombs at the different exits of the PolyU. They seriously threatened the danger of those who wanted to leave the campus. All night last night, there were people who used the pretext of supporting PolyU, and they went on a rampage across town. Let's take a look at the footage. Now there was an umbrella, group of umbrellas there, and then they started throwing petrol bombs at newspaper store, and there was explosion. The store owners would not leave, and he was dragged away by the riot police, and then the fire became wilder. It affected a nearby building. Riot police tried to put out the fire with extinguishers. At around 5 a.m., the footbridge linking the PolyU with the other side went, was burned. You can see last night that rioters kept throwing petrol bombs at the police. In Jordan and Tsim Sha Tsui near PolyU, the different parts there were burnt down beyond recognition by rioters. These people said they were trying to help those on the campus, but actually they were the one who lit fire, who set fires at the different entrances of the campus. And if there should be an accident, people would not be able to flee, and the consequences would be unfathomable. And there were repeated scenes of confrontation along Nathan Road. What was different was that yesterday, the rioters threw far more petrol bombs at police at far greater frequency. There were minivans and private vehicles nearby, and they were touched. The rioters also intimidated and attacked reporters. They made reporters turn over their memory cards, or the reporters would be killed. And then they threw petrol bombs at reporters as well. Some reporters were burnt. And then some reporters stepped on nails scattered on the ground by rioters, and their feet were hurt. Now, they claimed they were fighting for something. The fact is they had no regard to the law, and then they took away people's freedom and rights. We also saw that some rioters tried to abseil down a flyover from Polytechnic. The police officers there were aware of that. They set up multiple blockade lines, and the police immediately gave chase. 37 people were arrested, including drivers who helped them, who helped the rioters. And apart from the Polytechnic, the police also received a report from the security department of the Chinese University. They said that there was a series of vandalism and arsons committed on the campus of the Chinese University. On Monday, the police seized 3,900 petrol bombs on the CU campus. Now, what does it mean to have 3,900 petrol bombs? It means if we throw a petrol bomb every 10 seconds, it would take 11 hours to throw all these bombs. So Chinese University was where we seized the largest number of petrol bombs since the start of all the operations. And then the university also noticed that there was a theft at the dangerous goods store. 100 liters of concentrated nitric acid and sulfuric acid was stolen, and these are highly corrosive chemicals. And also other chemicals were stolen that could be used for making gasoline bombs and for other unlawful purposes. It's a serious threat to public safety. Now I hand over to Mr. Kong.
I will now give you the ammunition figures yesterday. On the 18th of November 2019, we have used 1,458 rounds of CS grenades, 1,391 rounds of rubber baton rounds, 325 rounds of super sock, and 265 rounds of 40mm launcher. In yesterday's operation, there were 6 police officers who were injured. For the more serious cases, in the small hours of 18th November, a police officer and a woman police officer were escorting protesters to the hospital. When they reached the junction of Ferry Street and Jordan Road, they were surrounded by a group of protesters, and they were being attacked with bricks and other items. They were sent to hospital for treatment. And then there are some clarifications I would like to make. There is claim that the police on the 18th have entered the Polytechnic campus to effect arrests. Actually, at around 5 o'clock in the morning on that day, the police conducted sweeping from Science Museum Road to Changwon Road to effect dispersal and arrest of several rioters. During the operation, when we arrived at the major staircase near Block A, Polytechnic, rioters kept hurling a large number of petrol bombs from above. And some of the petrol bombs were even strapped with small gas cans used in hot pots. Fire was raging, and the scene was very chaotic and dangerous. Because of the danger, our colleagues and some people at the scene, including reporters, entered a medical ward next to the staircase at Block A, Poly U, which we later came to know to be a medical ward. They took refuge. There was also another reporter and several people in the medical ward. The police officers inquired why those people were inside the medical ward and how they were doing. From the live footage, you could see that the fire was raging outside. It was very dangerous and chaotic. And that's the reason why our colleagues and the other people took refuge in the medical ward. And I can tell you, I can confirm with you that there was no arrest effected in the room. I reiterate, we did not actively charge into the campus of Poly U, as some have claimed. In the past 3 days, what we saw was a group of rioters attacking us with petrol bombs, and they were vandalizing the campus of Poly U. That's why it was necessary for us to use force to stop them. And also, someone claimed that the police had used tear gas near the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, affecting the operation of the hospital. I have to point out that it was the rioters who chose to vandalize near Gascony Road. We were only reacting to the unlawful acts of the rioters. The responsibility for obstructing the operation and logistics of the hospital lies with the rioters. They vandalized and hurled petrol bombs near the hospital, causing fear among the patients and even disrupting their treatment. The rioters chose hospital as a cover for their behavior. They took the hospital hostage, and it was really shameful. The hospital made a statement today confirming that they have taken appropriate arrangement to keep normal operation. The hospital has also liaised with the EMSD to check the system according to established mechanism, and no abnormalities were found. I have to condemn these irresponsible behaviors of the rioters. They took hospital and patients as hostages, but they could not make the police and the society bend to the will. I reiterate, we always take a passive position when we use force. In reaction to the force used by rioters, we have also given full consideration of the scene, and it is usually when we were left without choice that we used tear gas grenades to disperse these rioters. I urge the rioters not to conduct these unlawful acts anymore. I will
now hand over to Mr. Kwok again. On the arrangements for the Poly U, the police try our best to strike a balance between the need to enforce law and stop violence and chaos, and to make a humanitarian arrangement for those occupying Poly U so that we could have a peaceful resolution. In this incident, we will try to be as flexible as possible. Hopefully, through dialogue, communication, and advice, we're able to let those occupying the campus see that there is actually a rational way out of the whole case. We appeal to those who are still on the campus to drop your weapons and come out. They will certainly be given fair treatment. the way the police handles the case doesn't mean that people can walk away free after they have broken the law. If the police allow criminals to leave the scene, that means we allow rioters to not take responsibility of what they've done, and then violence will continue to threaten society. Now, we note that some people package criminals as kids, students, or innocent children. But if I may use this example, just yesterday in Taiwan, outside the government quarters, we arrested a 15-year-old boy. He was throwing petrol bombs at the scene. A petrol bomb is equally lethal, whether it's thrown by someone aged 15, 25, or 35. These are lies. These are excuses to cover up for the criminals. Have they ever shown any sympathy to the police officers inside the armored vehicle that went up in flames? Did they think about the family members of these police officers? Did they ever think about those who've been burned by petrol bombs? And what about people, the family members of these people? And have they ever shown any pity to people, to the person who was killed by a brick? What about his family member? At the CU alone, we seized 39,000 petrol bombs. For Poly-U, Tsim Sha Tsui and Jordan, there's been extensive arson in the past few days. So we believe inside the Poly-U, petrol bombs there, or those have been thrown, must far exceed 300,900. Now, if we back down from violence, it is really not an option for us to restore order in Hong Kong. If we do that, we are not doing our duty to protect, to safeguard the justice and the community. You have to support stopping violence. That is the just way to do it, and then the police will continue to do our work to stop the violence. Thank you.
It's alarming that universities in Hong Kong turned into weapon factories. Regarding the standstill in the Polytechnic University, the police have been searching for a peaceful resolution. Using force has always been the last resort in response to the violence of the rioters. Over the past few days, we repeatedly appealed to the rioters to surrender their weapon and leave the campus. However, some still ignore our warnings and refuse to leave. We understand public concern about the welfare of those rioters, so we have actively engaged other government departments and stakeholders for a joint effort to bring out the rioters. For instance, we arranged Red Cross volunteer and qualified first aiders to enter the Poly-U and render first aid to the rioters. Around 20 injured rioters were treated, and some of them were sent to hospital for treatment. We also arranged for 60 secondary school principals, 15 teachers, and 10 social welfare department staff to enter the school to render assistance. We also liaised with the school management proactively and managed to persuade 47 teaching staff to come out of the campus. A special unit called the Casualty Inquiry Unit, consisting of around 20 police officers, was turned out to assist in the liaison with all stakeholders. Given the large number of underage arrested people inside the campus, we did not arrest them immediately and made a special arrangement to record their personal data before releasing them. Also, some rioters were seen escaping by abseiling off a foot bridge to get away vehicle below. Our officer gave chase and were able to interrupt 37 of them, including the drivers. The driver who carried those rioters were arrested for assisting offender. We must stress that our officers will make every effort to bring offenders to justice. Regarding the arrest figures, In the past day, the police arrested around 1,100 people for offenses, including taking part in riots and possession of offensive weapons. Apart from PolyU, the management of the Chinese University of Hong Kong also reported theft of dangerous chemical from their laboratory. Yesterday, as assisted by the university staff, our officer entered the campus for evidence gathering and disposal of dangerous goods. Over 3,900 petrol bombs were seized, which is the highest number recorded in one single location. I'm sad to report that CU Hong Kong has become a manufacturing base for petrol bomb. The dangerous chemicals stolen include, in total, 100 liters of chemicals, such as the concentrated acid. These are raw ingredients for making petrol bomb. They are highly corrosive and toxic, which can be easily inhaled or absorbed through the skin, leading to long-lasting and even permanent nerve damage. We appeal to students to mind their own safety and not come into contact with those dangerous items if they find them on campus or any public place. In conclusion, no one is above the law. No excuse, no political demand or motive can spare anyone from legal liability. It's evident the rioters inside the Polytechnic University have taken part in rioting, committed destructive acts like hurling petrol bomb and shooting arrows, as well as making offensive weapons. Regardless of their age and causes, they are to face the consequences of their own actions. If you still believe the rule of law, if you still treasure Hong Kong's core values, please support us in enforcing the law impartially.
Three questions. First one. Let me start again. First question. Now, on what basis did you determine that people coming or students coming off the campus have already committed a riot offense? There's still a few hundred people on the campus. What, are you going to escalate your action? Because online people are saying that you might cut the electricity and water supply. And then last night in the confrontation, there were several protesters who did not resist, but you still hit them, and maybe it's because of the flare bombs you used, and that because the stampede maybe is not in line with your idea of peaceful resolution. Now you have the commission has changed it because therefore you have changed the objectives of your service or your mission. Now I'll take the first question and Ms. Kong will take the second question, and I'll come back to our motto. Just now the reporter asked how we define these people unlawful action, whether there's some riot offense. Do you have any evidence to show that they have committed the riot offense? Well, I think over the past few days, if you followed live broadcasts, you will see that these people used violence, they used different weapons. They caused extensive damage to the campus and the neighborhood. They caused harm to different people. So we could see how they disregard the law. Do I really have to prove anything here? And we've always said that when we use force, it depends on the violence used by those breaking the law. Now, why is it we said we wanted a peaceful resolution? Is exactly because we don't want to use force. So that's why we are appealing to the rioters again, drop your weapons and leave the PolyU campus as soon as possible so that peace could be restored in society. On the case you mentioned, I'll ask Mr. Kong to answer that. Please don't get it wrong. Peaceful handling of the case. We're talking about the vicinity of PolyU. In the vicinity of the PolyU campus, we say we want a peaceful approach in dealing with the case, that you could see that we've been exercising great restraint in the past few days if you followed the live broadcast. Now, if we found some 4,000 petrol bombs in CU, we're sure that we'll find far more in PolyU. They use petrol bombs to attack us. By a peaceful resolution, we just don't want the violence of the rioters to spread to other parts outside the PolyU, such as to Hong Kong or Tsim Sha Tsui. By a peaceful resolution, we want to give people a chance to surrender. We are glad to see that close to 1,000 or a few hundred people, I don't have the actual figures yet, these people were willing to drop their weapons, took off their helmets and masks and walked out. So that's why we were able to bring the matter to close in a relatively peaceful manner. And then yesterday, there were these people who claimed they were coming to the rescue of those on campus. They purported to be great. They used vehicles to come and take away the rioters. They were just assisting offenders. That's why yesterday we intercepted 7-person minivans and we arrested over 30 people. They were just assisting offenders. So whoever used violence against us, definitely we will respond in an appropriate manner to subdue them and arrest them. It's as straightforward as that. Now, someone mentioned flare bombs. I'll ask Mr. Kong to answer that. Well, the so-called flash bombs, rather, the flash... the fresh grenades. The police was doing a sweeping in Yau Ma Tei near Nathan Road. At the scene, we arrested close to 200 people. But as we managed to subdue these 200 people, we had enough people to deal with, just enough people to deal with the 200 people. And then there were people on the side who threw petrol bombs at us. They charged us. They threw objects to us. There was a chance that they might come and take away the arrested persons. That's why we had no choice, and we used what do you call it? The flash grenade that you mentioned to try to distract them, and so we could continue to deal with those arrested as soon as possible. So let me say this again. Now, if we use any weapons or any means, it's in response to the extreme violence perpetrated by the rioters at the scene, and everyone should condemn extreme violence. Now, only people who claim they would not abide by the law, would they criticize the way the police use force or deal with such violence. There were some whom you arrested. They were not resisting. How come you still beat them up? Was that appropriate? In the past 2 days, actually it's not just the past 2 days, but in the past few weeks, in many of the arrests we made, we had to subdue those arrested as soon as possible. Some people would not stand up to walk. That's why we had to drag them on the ground. Well, they could actually stand up and walk on their own. Now, we couldn't rule out the possibility that some were deliberately trying not to cooperate. They would want to, because they wanted to buy time, so their brothers and sisters would come and save them. But that's the naive. Even if you run away once, you cannot run away forever. It's just like that person who was actually rescued. The person's been arrested again. Now, for people who have broken the law, they will be arrested sooner or later. Some say in the media, they're saying that these people are making a desperate attempt to escape, but you're not just condoning the lawbreakers. Now, and then some of you noticed that our motto is now serving Hong Kong with honor, duty, and loyalty. Well, the police move with the times. They will use new mottos that are in line with the times. This is the 150 years anniversary of the police force. We have we have been always been doing our duty. For this motto, we've been using it in our celebration activities in this past year. It's nothing new. It shows that our officers act with honor, duty, and loyalty. So we are actively responding to the higher expectations of the public. This motto also shows that the police force stands united in serving the public. Thank you. Commercial radio. I'm from commercial radio. For PolyU and Yamate and flash bombs. First, about PolyU. What is your assessment of how many are left on the campus? Is there a deadline for you to storm inside? Now, you said you took away 47 teachers and staff members. Now, you said that anyone inside PolyU would be arrested for riots, for the riot offense. So were these 47 teaching staff members arrested? And for those under 18, you said you would not arrest them for the time being. When would you make the arrest? What would be your considerations? That's the question about PolyU. The other question is on Yamate. Mr. Kwong admitted that you did use flash bombs. For flash bombs or flash grenades, did you use it for the first time? Have you ever used it before? Now, you announced the rounds, you fired every day with this, with the flash grenade being included on the list. Is that a standard gear of the police, or is it just the SDU who would use this? Because from some photos circulating online, we see that there were vehicles of the SDU, so the SDU has been deployed, it seems. Now, my understanding is there are several parts to your first question. First, about PolyU, the situation now and what our plans are. Now, for the number of people arrested and the processing of them, I'll leave it to Mr. Kwong. And then Mr. Wong will also say something about the Yamate situation. Now, for PolyU, as I said at the beginning, we have always wanted a peaceful resolution. That's why we have asked so many people from the community to go into the campus to persuade people to leave. And even Mr. Kong helped yesterday. We wanted to persuade students to leave the campus peacefully as soon as possible. And then there were various underage persons and teaching staff members who were persuaded to leave. There were about 600 of them. Those remaining, we hope they will leave soon too. We will be closely monitoring the situation. We will continue to collect intelligence and decide the next step to take. But still, we hope very much there could be a peaceful resolution to the incident. Now, you asked if there is a deadline. Well, it's not for us to set the deadline. The deadline is set by the writers. If you are prepared to leave, then that's the end of the case. And that means the case would have been resolved peacefully. Now, I'll ask Mr. Lee to give information. Did you arrest the staff members, and what about those under 18? When would you arrest them? That's exactly what I would like Mr. Lee to tell you. First, about the law enforcement exercise at PolyU, the rationale for the arrest and the handling of the underage. Now, for people who walk out, all of them, if they're over 18, we would arrest them for the riot, for taking part in a riot. What does the law say about arrest powers? In Public Order Ordinance Cap 245, Section 19 is stated clearly there are two elements. One is unlawful assembly, the other is a breach of public peace. And as you know, for breaching peace, I don't think we need to say any more on that. But perhaps for unlawful assembly, I could say a bit more. How do we look at unlawful assembly? Please note several points there. the first element is a breach of the peace, and then it's unlawful assembly. Now, for people, rioters along Chang Wan Road, they were able to go in and out of the campus freely. And secondly, they used weapons such as petrol bombs, and they threw other objects too. Most of these items were taken out from the campus. And thirdly, during the entire police operation, a large number of petrol bombs and objects were thrown out from the campuses. Arrows were shot from the campus. So if we only limit our operation to Chang Wan Road, it is not sufficient. It's not right. So based on the 3 points I made, we could arrive at 2 conclusions. First of all, there are a large number of the black-clad rioters who attacked us had gone into the campus. And secondly, there was a large number of people on campus who took part in the breach of the peace. That means they took part in a riot. That's why we cordoned off the area. So for anyone who walks out from there, he or she is a suspect for committing riot. Now, for the police, of course, we take actions starting from suspicion. There is suspicion with these people as to whether we will get to the prosecution stage. Now, for these people, with suspicion, we will arrest them. Then we will try to hear the explanation of what they've done on the campus, and then we will be collecting evidence. And then we would study the case with the Department of Justice to see if we should charge these people for riots or other related offences. As for people under 18, this is a special and flexible arrangement. For the time being, we have only jotted down their names and we've photographed them, and to see if in future we will charge them. And if there is sufficient evidence or if there is need, then we would also make them, we'll also bring them to justice. So that's the arrangement for those arrested. Thank you. Second question, let me reiterate. In the past few days, especially at PolyU or last night on Nathan Road, we were faced with extreme violence. If there is a need, we will allow our officers to deploy the gear they have. So it's not the question of whether such bomb has been used for the first time or if we've ever used it before. It's like the rifles we have, we have them, but you might question why all of a sudden bring them out and deploy our rifles. So that kind of bomb you mentioned is just one of the bombs the police have, and if necessary, we will deploy them. And you say certain vehicles come from a particular unit. Is it because the case has become so bad we need to deploy those units, or whether the bombs are related to those units? Well, it's the same logic. If the situation is so dire, we have people trained to deal with such level of violence, and we do not rule out any possibility of deployment of any officers. The aim is that we are able to stop the violence, and then the police would never back off. We will try to stop the violence as soon as possible. Thank you.
Hong Kong Free Press, please.
I wanted to ask about the riot police officer yesterday who at PolyU was filmed stomping on the head of a arrested protester who was already apprehended by several officers. Will this officer be punished and or put on leave? My second question is about the police van carrying Raptors, which was filmed driving towards a crowd of protesters yesterday at a high speed in Yau Ma Tei. Can you please clarify why was it necessary to drive so fast and so close to the crowd and therefore threaten the safety of those in the vicinity? Thank you.
Regarding the first part of the question, I'll ask Mr. Gong to handle it. And then for the second part, the Yau Ma Tei case, I will pass it to Mr. Wong afterward.
I think I have to remind the public that over the past few days in the vicinity of the PolyU, The violence used by the rioters is very serious. They heard a lot of a huge number of petrol bombs towards us, and use different kinds of weapons to attack our officers, including the bow and arrows. So when we try to apprehend any of these rioters, we have to achieve one purpose: a quick and full control. However, in the past few months, we encountered a lot of struggles and resistance when we arrest these rioters. One of the reasons that I could think of is that they intentionally put on struggle and intentionally put up resistance, no matter it is active or passive ones, in order to make room and time for others to rescue them. So, in subduing these kind of rioters, we have to do it quick and with the appropriate level of force to be used.
Sorry, just watching the video now, the protester is completely...
Sorry, I think this is not appropriate time to view your video, so I think we should continue the second part of the question.
Okay. Regarding to your second part of questions, you asked about the high speed of our police bus, am I right? Okay. First of all, drive fast doesn't mean it is unsafe. For our police officers, they all well trained, right? During these situations, I would say this is a very, very critical situation. We are facing a group of extreme violence rioters, which totally ignore our law in Hong Kong. They are throwing the petrol bombs, not even to the police, but also to the reporters. They are damaging the property, not only public property, but also some bank, some shops. So, how the police have to do is to arrest, is to disperse. How we can do it effectively is to use our tactics in a safe manner, right? Be confident to the police, and peace, be support to the police. If you always worry about why the police do this and why the police do that, perhaps that may send some wrong message to the public. Trust us and support us. We need your support so that to stop the violence and to resolve the problems. Thank you.
Next one, please. Xinhua Agency, Xinhua News Agency.
Well, I'm from Xinhua News Agency. Just now the police said that for people coming out of the PolyU, large number of them were not PolyU staff or students. Did you do a count how many people were actually staff members and students of PolyU and how many were not? And then you mentioned there were underage a boy who threw petrol bombs. What is your policy for people under 18? Now you took a photograph of them and took down information and you let them leave. Would there be any corresponding measure to prevent these underage people from taking part in riots again? The third question. We saw rioters causing extensive damage on campus and nearby, and then there were people trying to come to Poly to rescue them. So for this whole district, would you say this is a dangerous district and you won't advise the public to go there? Would it be the case? Thank you. All three questions are about the PolyU. First of all, for people who walked out of the Polytechnic University voluntarily, well, we're still trying to sort out the figures. There are 600 people who walked out of the campus. About one-third of them were underage. And from our analysis, out of these 600, quite a number of them are not students of the PolyU, but we have still to, compile the figures. But it shows that for people who occupy the PolyU illegally, many of them actually were not students. There were people who claimed they had certain demands, and so they joined in. We said earlier that we would like a peaceful resolution to the PolyU incident. We are aware of the concerns of the public about the case. So we took the special arrangement to just take down their information, because we want a rational way out for these young people. You could see from the footage just now, when they tried to leave the PolyU, they were stopped. You saw people physically trying to stop them from leaving, and they also sort of threatened them, or they spread fake news. That is, if they were to be arrested, they would be treated violently, or they might be sent somewhere on the train. So this is all fake news. And so that's why these children did not come out. That's why we sought help from people from the community. We asked secondary school principals and teachers to go inside to talk to them, because exactly we want to help these young people to turn around. Now, the reporter asked how we could make sure that these young people would not take part in unlawful activities again. Well, I think that is something for the entire community to think about. Why is it there are so many young people taking part in unlawful activities? Do other stakeholders have certain responsibility as well? We said this at different press conferences in the past. Now, we continue to condone and tolerate violence. It will just lead to more violence. At the end is our next generation who suffer. At the end will be our young people who suffer. So please work together with the police and the government and say no to violence. Please help us bring an end to all these unlawful activities. Now, your last question, you asked whether we will designate this a dangerous zone. Now, the police have been collecting evidence. We've been doing risk assessment, and we will make a suitable deployment and plan suitable operations. So that's why we would advise the public to continue to listen to the appeals made by the police. You could follow our social media, or you could get information through the media. Now, if there are unlawful activities going on at a certain place, please listen to our appeal or follow the advice of officers at the scene. Please refrain from going to those dangerous places. Hong Kong 01, please.
I have 3 questions. Firstly, from yesterday to today, within the campus of PolyU, and also in the area of YMT district, what are the arrest figures and what are the offences related? And are all the people arrested at PolyU were charged with taking part in riots? And Mr. Kwok, you said you have been arranged for principals and other stakeholders into the campus to bring rioters out. But clerical officers and also pan-democrats said the police officer did not allow them to go into PolyU. So on what criteria did you allow or not allow people to go in? And about Mr. Wong saying that driving fast does not necessarily mean unsafe. But from the footage, we could see the white police bus suddenly accelerated towards the protesters. And a severe accident was very likely. What was the rationale of suddenly accelerating? So like the previous police officer who drove a police motorbike into the crowd. would this driver be put on leave as well? Concerning the people arrested in the vicinity of the PolyU, we are still working on the numbers. It was just a rough figure, around 1,100 was arrested, and not all of them are PolyU students. And I will give you an update on the figures in future press conferences. The offences related include taking part in riots, possession of offensive weapons, and arson. I will give you more details in due course. About the principals and social workers and other stakeholders whom we arranged to go into PolyU to urge rioters to come out, and the peaceful resolution, it is still ongoing. And there are other people in the community who are trying to help us, who are to urge the protesters to come out. We will try to make suitable arrangement for them as well. But we have to give consideration to the scene, to the situation of the scene, and also the credentials of the people who are trying to help, to make sure that they can enter safely and to really make a difference. Our colleagues in the regional crime units of Kowloon West will work with us to arrange for help, to urge those who are staying in the PolyU to surrender their weapons and to come out so as to reach a peaceful resolution. I will ask Mr. Wong to answer the question about the use of vehicle. About being reckless as to people's life, I think that's totally wrong. All along, the police have done nothing to show that we are reckless as to people's life. In the past few months, who were the ones who held brakes at us? Who were the ones who held petrol bombs at us and innocent citizens? Who were beating people up just because of dissenting political views? Who were the ones who masked their face and do unlawful acts and was utterly disregard of other people's properties? Who were the ones who rack up traffic lamps? Who were the ones who set fires at vehicles and also residential homes, so that the residents have to flee? These were not done by the police. I am very disappointed that you describe the police with this word. Our operation yesterday was completely based on tactical consideration, and our colleagues were facing tremendous stress. We were dealing with a very difficult situation. Maybe you do not understand our stress because you are not the one facing the stress. The situation was really difficult. In order to be effective, to effect effective arrest on these lawless rioters, and considering these dangers and on the police officers, there are no questions about these dangers. Please appreciate the dangers and difficulties that we face. And we are really taking a risk in dealing with these dangerous situations. We use broadcasts in our operation to urge people to stay away from these dangerous places and these extremely violent rioters. If you stay around them to show your support, and when something happens, you think you can get away safely, that's not likely. When you are at the scene, when people in masks are attacking us, we will try our best, we will do our best to arrest these rioters. These are what we have always been trying to do. CNN, please.
Thank you. Could I ask you about the estimate of the number? So what is your estimate of the number of people still inside the PolyU? How many are still on the campus? And also, are there any issues regarding the structural integrity of any buildings or bridges that may impact the local community, including the cross-harbor tunnel? And thirdly, there was a High Court decision from Hong Kong and a response from Chinese government. China slammed Hong Kong court's ruling of anti-mask law as unconstitutional. Do you have any response to that, please? Thank you.
I will first answer the first two questions, and then I will pass the third question to Mr. Lee. Regarding the situation in Polytechnic University, actually, we have been searching for a peaceful resolution to the whole incident. Using force has always been the very last resort in response to the violence of the rioters. In terms of the number of the people inside is operational details we won't be able to disclose here. But please bear with us. We will work together with different stakeholders, trying to work together to bring a peaceful end to this whole incident. We will closely monitor the situation and will conduct gather intelligence and conduct risk assessment continuously, and we will roll out the operational plan. So regarding the building structure, crossing harbor tunnel, etc., actually the only concern for the police is public safety. As long as those rioters stop the violence, and then we will work out the plan with the different stakeholders regarding the reopening of the beach. For example, we work with the highways department. As long as it's safe, we will try to reopen it as soon as possible, because it's the major tunnel using in Hong Kong. So I'll pass the last question to Mr. Lee.
So regarding the JRs, again, the anti-face mask ordinance, we are aware that there's some comment by the court, the court of the force of incidence on the usage on the which is the relations with the basic law. But we are also aware that the court have a ruled that for some of the public order event mentioned at the section 3 of the anti-mask ordinance, is necessary for the society, and also particularly is for the section 3(1)(a) mentioned about if a person is unlawful assembly, engaging in the unlawful assembly, is subject to be this law is also passed through the compatibility test. That means it is necessary by the society and the police to ruling these kind of things. But of course, the court had some comment on other issues, illegal issue on this one. To play safe, I have to say that the police at this stage will suspend all the enforcement about the anti-mask ordinance at this stage. Okay, no comment.
Just about the number, the estimate, is the number lower than 300?
Well, actually, I just mentioned that is a part of the operational details. We won't be able to disclose the exact details here.
好，今日最後兩題，Cable。
Last two questions, Cable. I'm from Cable News. Cable TV. First, about PolyU. You said the deadline is up to the writers. Does it mean that if they will never come up, you just keep, barricading them in? Would you set a deadline to say if they don't come out, then you will storm inside? Would you do that? The second question, you clarify that the situation about firing of tear gas outside the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, you said the writers must take the full responsibility. Now, you said you did an assessment on the environment. Well, then you would know it's a hospital next door. So are you actually bringing the healthcare staff and patients into this? Because it's for you to decide whether to fire tear gas. So why must you fire tear gas? And then the white police van, you said driving fast doesn't mean it's unsafe. And then you said it's also tactical consideration. So it means that the commander of the operation actually asked the driver of the van to drive fast into the crowd. So does it mean that it doesn't matter if the police cars kill someone or cause a stampede, and then it's acceptable as a tactical operation? Now, first, I must solemnly say that I cannot accept what you said in your last question. Look at what happened in the past 5 months and so 160 days. The police faced a series of violent and unlawful activities. You compare us to any countries, we've been exercising great restraint, and then we have our code to follow in taking actions. I will ask Mr. Kwong to explain in a moment. But you must see that in the past 160 days or so, we faced unprecedented challenges. Every day when our colleagues come to work, they are under immense pressure. Still, they enforce law in the most professional manner. So please appreciate the challenges they face. And actually, it's us who really do not want to use force. Every time we use force, that means there are threats, there is danger. So that means our colleagues could also be injured. Over this period, more than 450 police officers have been injured to various degrees. We still have officers in hospital. So you please see that we would definitely adopt the most professional and restrained manner in dealing with this violent incidents. Please understand, we really do not want to use force. We could use a peaceful resolution or a flexible approach to deal with incidents, we would. Now, coming back to the first question, as for the one on the hospital, I will ask Mr. Kong to take that. As for the last question of the police van, I'll see if Mr. Kong has anything to add. For the PolyU case, we will keep doing assessment, and then we'll collect evidence on the situation inside. Hopefully, then we could come up with a peaceful resolution. We are also making different plans for different operation. At the end of the day, how would the matter be resolved? Well, really, you have to ask the rioters on the campus. As long as they would walk out of the campus peacefully, then that would be a peaceful conclusion of the case. We do not wish to use force. That's why we are resorting to so many different means, arranging for so many different people to go and persuade them. And we guarantee that if they walk out peacefully, they would be given the fairest treatment. We'll make sure that we will follow. They will be given the protection by the law. Now, about the deployment of tear gas near a hospital today. Well, the logic is straightforward. At that moment, the rioters were attacking the police with extreme violence. Definitely, we had to fight back. Otherwise, that would become a place where rioters could use violence lawfully. Now, is there any place in Hong Kong where there could be lawful use of petrol bombs? I don't think you can find any such place all across the territory. We see people breaking the law. We see people using petrol bombs. We see people using various forms of violence to attack us. Definitely, we will respond with corresponding force to disperse them. Now, if the hospital faces any problem in its operation and patients are not able to go to a doctor or go to the hospital, the responsibility rests squarely with the rioters. Your third question, the way you put, because you asked this question, I can explain this to you. Now, as you mentioned, when police officers consider the use of different tactics, exactly, this is the biggest challenge to them. If they kill someone, they have to be held responsible. Like yesterday, there were rioters who drove a car into police officers, and so we want to tell those rioters, if you kill someone, you will have to face the consequence. Now, the police officers have to deal with these extremely violent rioters in an effective manner. We have to be able to make arrests. We have to make sure we're safe. We have to make sure others are safe. So we face, that's the challenge we face. Dangerous driving, causing death, is a reckless behavior that has no regard to other people's safety. Definitely, this is not one of the factor that will come up in police's operation or use of tactics. Now, so you asked a question, and I can tell you definitely we will go through a series of risk assessments in planning our operation. We'll have regard to what our office is able to do, and then we'll act accordingly. And this exactly is the pressure we face. Thank you for this question, so we can explain to the public the pressure the police face. The last one, Alfred.
There are reports saying that there was a stampede in Yau Ma Tei last night during a police operation. Could you confirm whether the incident happened? And if so, how did it occur? And did any officers at the scene offer any help to the people reportedly piled up and trapped in the stampede at the time? And also, my second question relates to your motto. You've changed your motto. Is there any reason for the change? And does that mean that you see loyalty, duty, and honor as more important than pride and care now?
So first, pass the first question to Mr. Gong.
Could you clarify your first question?
There are reports saying that there is a stampede in Yau Ma Tei last night during a police operation to disperse protesters there. Could you confirm whether the incident happened, and if so, how did it occur? What was the causes of the incident? And did any officers at the scene offer any help to the people who were being trapped in the stampede at that moment?
As far as I understand, last night there's a widespread of righteous incident happened in Yau Ma Tei, the Tsim Sha Tsui, as well as Mong Kok area. And as far as I know, in Yau Ma Tei area at the moment, we have arrested over 100 of rioters there, and during which, although we have arrested quite a large number of rioters, there are still around 1,000 of them in front of us, and attack us with petrol bombs and different hard objects, including bricks or glass bottle, etc. So during the moment, we have to act quick and control all the arrested persons in a full and swift manner. And I understand that during the process, I never heard of any stampede incident as mentioned by you, but during which I understand around 30 people reported that they are injured, and we have arranged them to go to the hospital for medical treatment. And according to my officer as well as the emergency service officers at scene, none of us had observed any stampede circumstances thereat.
Regarding your questions about our new motto, serving Hong Kong with honor, duty, and loyalty. Actually, it was adopted on the occasion of our 175th anniversary of the force. It actually highlights the characteristic of honor, duty, and loyalty, which is embedded in our every police officer. It also recognizes the changing social environment. That's why we introduced the new motto. In fact, it's not totally new, because over the past few months, before the current situation, we have a number of celebrating events to celebrate the 175th anniversary, during which we also introduced the new motto. It also reassured the public that Hong Kong Police Force will continue to serve the community professionally and wholeheartedly, and the mission of serving the Hong Kong will never change for us.
That's
the end of the press conference. Thank you.